There are a lot of movies out there about the end of the world, people dying off, all kinds of good stuff to watch. Yeah, so there's a whole genre about natural disasters wiping out all of humanity. I've seen one where people get a shot and everybody turns into a zombie. That was fun to watch. It seems like to me, aliens are very interested in our planet, and they're also not very friendly. Fortunately, I've come to learn that Twinkies last a long time, so they'll be helpful if things get bad. But also, the Autobots are there to help us in time of need. Yeah. So we are interested in the end. We think about it, we watch movies about it, and we're like, I wonder what's going to happen. Fortunately for us, we don't have to guess about it. The Bible includes a lot of information about the end of the world as we know it. Now, oftentimes we think, well, we're going to talk about the end. We're digging into the book of Revelation. Well, there's a lot more out there beside Revelation. Today, we're actually going to look at the words of Jesus, and he's going to answer specific questions about how the world is going to end. So we are in Matthew chapter 24. We're going to pick it up in verses 1 through 3. As Jesus was leaving the temple grounds, his disciples pointed out to him the various temple buildings. But he responded, "Do you see all these buildings? I tell you the truth, they will be completely demolished. Not one stone will be left on top of another." Later, Jesus sat on the Mount of Olives. His disciples came to him privately and said, "Tell us, when will all this happen? What will be the signal of your return and the end of the world?" So Jesus and his disciples were in the temple complex, and this was the center for the Jews for worship. This place was beautiful. It was kind of awe-inspiring. It was a place that you would go, like tourists would go, that could go and be like, wow, that's amazing. So the disciples were probably pointing out to each other, hey, look at that. That's cool. They were country folks. They were not used to all of that. And Jesus kind of steps in here. He says, oh yeah, you see that? You like that? Yeah, it's going to be destroyed soon. Yep. Not even a stone left on top of another. Someone's coming to tear this place apart. And as would happen, Jesus is right on point. Hit it right on the nose. About 40 years after Jesus said these words, the Romans came in and tore Jerusalem up. So the temple itself was never rebuilt. Actually, on the site, though, someone did build on it. The Muslims built. They built a holy site, and today the Dome of the Rock still stands there. So after Jesus said these words, the disciples were pretty curious about how is this going to play out. So they asked Jesus, what's going on here? But then they added two other questions there. So question one was, okay, so when you're coming back, like, how do we know when that's going to happen? What's going on? And the other one is, what's up with the end of the world? So, hey, the temple's going to be destroyed. Tell us what's going on there. When are you coming back? And what's going on with the end of the world? So Jesus enters in this passage. We're not going to look at it all today, but he's going to be able to answer these questions. Let's pick it up in verse 8 as he starts to answer. Jesus told them, "Don't let anyone mislead you, for many will come in my name, claiming I am the Messiah. They will deceive many, and you will hear of wars and threats of wars, but don't panic. Yes, these things must take place, but the end won't immediately follow. Nation will go to war against nation, and kingdom against kingdom. There will be famines and earthquakes in many parts of the world. But all this is only the first of the birth pains, with more to come." So Jesus started and he tackled one question first. And it's like, how do we know, like, what's going on with the end of the world? Like, what's going to happen at the end of human history as that chapter is wrapped up? And so first he talks about false teaching. He says, people are going to come and they're going to actually mislead other people. they're going to claim that they're from Jesus, or they're from God, and they say, "Hey, I'm the Messiah. You should follow me." And also, then he mentions wars. More wars. I mean, seriously, can't we all just get along? Nope. Unfortunately, the world doesn't end with world peace, where we're just figuring out how to get along and love our neighbors. That's not it at the end. Things will get worse before they get better. And by the way, we're going to throw in some famine and some earthquakes to that. And Jesus said, but this is only the beginning. It's like birth pains. Birth pains aren't the end. They just show you that the end's coming soon. So before Zion was born, Naomi had plenty of birth pains. I think she was in labor for about 800 hours. I'm not sure about that, but it was close. The pain was there, I mean, in a really a big way, and it signaled that Zion would be coming soon. So we can look around and see the things that Jesus talked about actually happening around us. So is there false teaching? Check. How about wars? Check. Famines? Check. Earthquakes? Check. I mean, that doesn't mean that the world's ending tomorrow, but that we're just getting closer and closer to the end. And if that's not enough, things continue to get worse. Again, things will get worse before they get better. Verse 9. Then you'll be arrested, persecuted, and killed. You'll be hated all over the world because you are my followers. And many will turn away from me and betray and hate each other. Many false prophets will appear and deceive many people. Sin will be rampant everywhere, and the love of many will grow cold. But the one who endures to the end will be saved. So Jesus continues, here are some general signs that will show you that we are getting close to the end. Followers of Jesus will be severely persecuted. You think about this. People, just because they are connected with Jesus, they'll be thrown in jail, beaten, maybe lose their jobs, houses caught on fire, family will turn their back, they'll be betrayed, and even killed, all because of their connection with Jesus. And so that kind of thing is going to cause people to really say, okay, am I in or not? It's going to cause people to reconsider. I don't know. I don't know if I want all this. I mean, I didn't sign up for this. And so some people who call themselves Jesus followers will say, yeah, I'm out. Not following Jesus. This is not worth it. And then false prophets are going to appear who are going to say, hey, I'm speaking for God. And they're going to say things that simply aren't true. They're going to lead people away from Jesus. And these are things that actually will sound good. I mean, they're going to say spiritual things, but they have nothing to do with God and what he wants. And you see that in this passage, people everywhere are turning their back on God. Sin is growing. Love will die out. People very simply will be saying, hey, what's in it for me? Me first. I'm not really interested about others or about God. I'm in it for myself. But it says there, those who stick with Jesus to the end will be saved. Verse 14. And the good news about the kingdom will be preached throughout the whole world, so that all nations will hear it, and then the end will come. Here is something that's surprising. With all the bad that's going to be happening, you wouldn't expect something for good to come out of it, but that's kind of God's specialty. He takes bad situations and turns them around for good. So as dark as things will be, God's people will shine the light and love of Jesus all around the world. So the news about Jesus and his kingdom will be shared throughout the world. Every tribe and tongue and language, every nation will have the chance to hear about Jesus and his kingdom. The good news, the gospel, will go forward with power, and then the end will come. Now, I think this is a lot to kind of sift through and take in, and we might step back and say, well, why does Jesus actually share about the end? Like, most people throughout history haven't been at the end, so why do we need to know all of this? Well, if you think about it, what is your response if you're living through some of these times? You know, as things continue to get worse and worse, as wars pop up all over people and people are killing each other, and wrong teachings about God are being shared throughout the world. People are dying of famines. Earthquakes are destroying houses. People that, let's personalize, people that you know are being killed just simply for following Jesus. What are you going to think in those times where you see all this chaos, all this crazy happening? What do you think? I think a lot of people would come to the conclusion that the world is out of control and that if there is a God, he has abandoned us. And so Jesus speaks up in this time to let us know, hey, there is a plan. Like, these things are going to happen. God is in control. He knows what he's doing. Things will get worse before they get better. But that is a part of God's plan for this world, how to wrap things up. And I think it's good to know ahead of time because we can be ready. Because ultimately, things will get difficult. Upon the general atmosphere of things being really bad, we have this severe persecution. We have false teachings everywhere. I mean, it's really going to be difficult to be a follower of Jesus. But as verse 13 points out, if you stick with it, if Jesus is really worth it, then you'll be saved. And so I think we need to hear this type of thing, and we need to know it to be true. God has everything under control. So when life seems out of control, God is actually in control. He has a plan. He will not fail. He's not abandoned us. So if you think about your future, it's easy to be filled with anxiety. Wow, and yet, God has you. He has your future. And I think what we need to do is we need to learn to trust God, to allow him to be in control. And even if things get worse for you, you need to remember that things will get better. God can be trusted, so hang in there. God's got you. He has a plan, and he will work all things together for good for those who love him. Let's pray. Father, I thank you for these words that are startling and yet comforting at the same time, knowing that these are things that are not going to take you by surprise. We can trust you, that you have a plan, that you know what's going on, and that in the end, you will work these things out for our good and your glory. And so we want to trust you. So help us to do that in Jesus' name.